Hi, I'm Jim McCann, founder of 1-800-Flowers. We created this podcast to share the wonderful people we get to interact with, we get to meet, we get to know, and most importantly, get to learn from. So I invite you to join us on this journey here on the Celebrations Chatter podcast.
Well, it's a real treat to be here today with a new friend, but a good friend. Kerry Washington is a lot of things. Besides being a friend, she's also a very talented and well-known actress, a director, producer, entrepreneur, investor, activist.
I'm tired just listening to you.
and a thought leader. We're adjacent to a conference here all about artificial intelligence. We've had lots of discussions over the last couple of days about its impact. We recently saw the agreement that the writers had come to with the studios in terms of protecting the rights of actors and creators of all different types going forward in this world of AI. And we're here at the conference talking about the perils and promise, or promise and perils, hopefully, of AI. And we just had a lot of chat about that. But more importantly, Kerry Washington, you're just finishing up a very successful international book tour. Your book, Thicker Than Water, is a best-selling book. I would say number one best-selling book.
My dad would too.
And rated number one book of the year on Audible, which is a fantastic service to listen to books, and to listen to you perform the book is a real treat. And number one on Audible is a real accomplishment too. So congratulations on all that's going on, especially with this successor book.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really exciting. Thank you for your partnership along the way and support.
Well, here at Celebrations Pulse, part of 1-800-Flowers, we've had the privilege of partnering with you. I don't think too many book tours get sponsor partners.
No.
But we may have created a new thing because we just wanted to be in your good light. Because of what you write about in the book, the stories you tell that are so impactful in your life and now in your community's life, to understand that you're all about relationships.
Yes.
And at Flowers, we try and serve our community around relationships. Yes, of course, we have flour and food and chocolate and candy kinds of gifts that we help people express themselves. But at the end of the day, we realize, yes, we might sell gifts, but we're really in the relationship business, and that's what Thicker Than Water is all about. Why don't we start there? What's it done to the relationships in your life going through this process? It's got an impact on your family, your immediate family, your husband, your kids.
Of course.
And then there's a mom and dad involved too.
Yes. So at the danger of revealing some spoilers in the book, there are many reveals in my memoir, but one of the biggest ones, and the one that kind of frames the book, is that a few years ago, my parents sat me down and they told me that my dad, my beloved dad, is not my biological father. And this was a family secret that they were really planning to take with them to the grave. But they were unable to because I was going to do some research for a show. Skip Gates has a wonderful show on PBS called Finding Your Roots.
Sure.
And I'd signed up to do that show, and my family, we were all really excited about doing it. And then they sent us these DNA kits, and my parents started to panic. My dad actually started having panic attacks. He couldn't sleep at night. And so eventually they called Skip and talked to him about it, and they had to tell him, and they told me. And I thought about that immediately when you were talking about relationships, because one of the traditions that we have in my family that means a lot to me and has traditionally meant a lot to my parents is that on my birthday, I always send something to my parents. And most often it's flowers. Yep. And I'm really thanking them for bringing me into the world. And so before I ever had this information, I really felt that the credit goes to the wrong person on somebody's birthday. Like, you didn't do the heavy lifting on your birthday. You know, your parents brought you into your mother especially, but your parents brought you into the world on that day. They really created the miracle, the blessing. So I've always sent my parents, you know, maybe a bottle of wine, maybe some candy, always flowers on my birthday saying, thank you. Yes, or all of the above. On the birthday that followed my parents sharing this information with me, I knew that in some ways that was going to be the most important time that I was going to send them that gift, because they had had so much fear about telling me about the truth of my conception, and so much fear that our relationships would be damaged forever. And so I guess it was they told me in April. So, about 8 months later on my birthday, I sent my parents once again, as I always had, flowers on my birthday. And it meant so much to all of us because it was a reinforcing of the reality that it doesn't matter whether or not I biologically come from my dad. He's my dad. They are my parents. He's my dad. I'm not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. We choose each other. We're committed to each other. So I think those rituals are so important. That ritual has always been so important, but in that year, it was especially important. And it's a reminder for how important, as you say, a gift can just look like a gift, but it can really reinforce the core depth of a relationship.
I can't imagine what your parents were thinking when they had to sit down and talk to you about that. I mean, the most important thing in the world, most important thing beyond their health, is the depth of the relationship they have with each other and with you. And the fear that might jeopardize or cause in some way to change that in a less than positive way must have been overwhelming for them.
I think so, because I always joke with people, it's not as if my lovely, extraordinary parents sat down and thought let's ruin the life of a child by destroying their sense of self and identity, right? No, they made this choice to keep this information from me out of love. Yeah. They were really trying to protect me. And when the secret caught up with them, I think I remember sitting in that room with them and them telling me and looking across and seeing how scared they were that this revelation would fracture our family in ways that could never be repaired. But it wasn't true. It's actually the opposite happened, right?
That's interesting.
Yes, that in that intimacy, in that revelation, I actually felt like they were letting me into their truth in a way that they never had before, that they were being more intimate with me and trusting me more with my own truth than they ever had before. And we've all become so much closer to be able to live in truth with each other.
I'm feeling it. And you think what's important, your relationship with your spouse, with your kids, and amazing. It's if you hadn't started down this road to write this memoir, things would be different.
I think so. I think so, because when my parents first told me, they also kind of asked me to be complicit in this lie. They asked me to not tell anyone.
Well, you certainly blew that one.
Yeah, I did. I told a few people. I'm telling more people now. But I think that, my mom said it so beautifully. We were doing an interview together because my parents have been so extraordinarily supportive of me. Throughout. And I think they've taught me a lot about parenting in this chapter of our lives because, my dad has never said, don't write the book, but he has several times in the process said, I don't know that this is the best idea. He said it would be bad for my brand. Yeah. But I think I held on to this belief that I don't want to perpetuate a false brand in the world. If I have a brand, I want it to be authenticity. I want it to be humanity, my humanness. And that includes imperfection. And
it's helpful to you and to your parents, but I'm sure you're very, very thoughtful and conscious of the community you have. And I say that not as the fan base you have, because you don't think of the people who would love and admire you and follow you as fans.
No.
You think of them as members of a community. And
yes.
I've long admired and respected how you do that. And so I'm suspecting that this has had a big impact on your community.
It's amazing. The biggest thing that happens when people read the book and I meet them, and this happens in private one-on-one situations, in big group settings, the number one thing that people do is they start to tell me their secrets. Yes. And even my dad said recently, he said, the most powerful thing for him in this experience is realizing that every family has secrets, that everybody feels alone as if
Not my family.
That's the biggest sign you might have some.
Those arrest records are public.
Good for you. But we all have things, we all have moments where we come face to face with details about our lives that we think make us unlovable. Yeah. And if we're lucky, then we're in families where those things that we think make us unlovable, we get to air them and get proven wrong. But some of us grow up in families where we hold on to them for fear that the revelation of them might cost us acceptance and belonging and love. Yep. So when people read the book and they feel safe enough to expose their vulnerability, I take that as such a huge compliment, because I feel like I've shared so much of myself that it makes people feel like they can too. And that's all we want, right? Is to be able to kind of tell our secret to somebody and still be loved and received and accepted.
We've done a lot of work recently in some of the research we do on relationships. And I think it's a tightrope you have to walk, because you've been so intimate and revealing in Thicker Than Water, and it's got so much attention. We chatted before about they did a piece on you and the book on ABC TV.
Yeah, the Robin Roberts
special with Robin Roberts on a Sunday night. They teased it all week, and it was an extraordinary show.
Yeah, and she did a beautiful job, all the producers.
Every bit of that, the production, and the respect clearly that creative team had for you and your story just came through. But and I think as much of the book, when you see a video presentation like that, so many people can share, even those who wouldn't be committed to sit down, buy, and read the book. Right. The tightrope I'm talking about, I'm thinking about is you become so intimate with your community now. How do you keep boundaries? Because some people are going to, as we walk through a lobby, some people are going to decide, hey, she needs to hear my story.
Yeah. You know, I really, really try to do the work to remain open to receiving other people's stories. Because one of the things that brings me the most joy, like one of the things that lights my fire, is really having people feel seen and to know that they matter. That is so important to me in the privilege that I have to be able to make people feel seen, because they see me and they may not see how similar or how important they are compared to me. And I'm always trying to kind of mirror back to people that I may be Kerry Washington, but I'm no more special than every single one of these people who comes to these events. Because like you said, they're not fans. Like, I'm their fan because they're showing up for me. I'm showing up for them. That's why it's a community. So I really try to remain open when it comes to boundaries around receiving people in ways that are safe.
You have this enormous following in social media.
Yeah.
It was so early to social media.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I've watched every minute of Scandal.
Why not?
Which I have. But you were using social media early in that show's life, which was not the thing that everyone was doing at the time. They weren't sure how to use social media.
Right.
And I know with the book, you've developed a relationship with Fred's that keeps the dialogue going beyond the Reese Witherspoon show, beyond the Robin Roberts show, or the appearances that you've done in all these major markets. How do you think about the next evolution of social media?
I think we're in an exciting time. I think there's lots of really interesting innovations happening from a company that I've invested in, Community, that does a lot of interaction on text messaging, which is an interesting way to utilize an older platform in new ways. And there's other exciting platforms like Spill, like ways to create community. I think we're in a really thrilling moment. Similar to what we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of promise and a lot of peril. So it's a moment where we really have to kind of step in and think about putting humanity first and ways to protect people and ways to create safety. But to something you asked earlier, it's important to me that even though I've written this book and there is a lot of revelatory shares and intimacy that I share, I'm still doing it in my way and on my terms.
It's my sister's birthday.
Go to 100flowers.com.
They have tons of great birthday gifts.
Wow.
Wow.
Happy birthday, baby.
Wow.
Yeah, me. I got to contain myself.
1-800-Flowers.
Celebrate the people you love.
This isn't a tell-all, right? This isn't an exploitive document. This is really a way for me to share some things that in my family have been secrets, but to share them in a way that remains sacred. I think that there's a difference
Yeah,
between
that's a
what's
tough
sacred.
balancing act.
Yeah, it
Because some
is.
people just, I want to get it out there. I want to share everything with my community. And you edit. You're a storyteller, but you edit.
That's right. And I think, I was doing a Q&A the other day where somebody said, oh, I wish you told more of your love story with your husband, right? And
It was 10 years and you didn't know he existed.
I know. Well, lots of people knew he existed in his own right, but didn't know that we were sharing our lives. But, I talk a lot more about my husband and my marriage in this book than I thought I would. There's a lot of sharing about that relationship, but there is a lot I don't share. And I'm not going to, because this book is a particular story about a particular part of my life. Just because I've written this book and all 3 of my children are mentioned in this book doesn't mean I'm going to now throw my kids on TikTok, which I'm not going to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome, much to their dismay. So I think it's important that no matter what we share in life, that we stay in the position of authorship of our lives. Like, a lot of me writing this book was me stepping into trying to be the lead character in the story of my life. When we do that, we remain the
That's
authors
interesting.
of how we communicate that story, right? And so I get to tell the story my way. My dad always jokes he's so supportive, but he also says, it's not the book I would have written. And I say to him, that's right. Like, I want you to write your book. You get to have your version.
You're prompting him. So tell us about growing up.
Yeah.
For some reason, I sound like I'm from New York, and you don't.
I love being a New Yorker, and I love your accent. It sounds like home. I think I was really lucky to grow up in New York, to grow up in the Bronx, to grow up with parents who, really, really wanted me. And I always felt very, very loved growing up.
But your kids, you're very tough in terms of making sure there are guardrails.
Yes.
And hearing your story, reading your story, your parents were strict parents.
They were. Would I call them strict? I had healthy boundaries. I was not a kid who was allowed to just say whatever and do whatever. But their boundaries were always, I think, built with the intention of helping me grow and learn and expand. Their boundaries were never built to make me feel small or insignificant or powerless. They were guardrails to help focus me and push me along to reach my highest potential, I think.
What part of school comes back to you in your stories? You think about it.
I always really liked school. And growing up in the Bronx, I went to a couple of different schools. And then in junior high school and middle school, I started going to a really elite private school in Manhattan on the Upper East Side, the Spence School. And that was really like a cultural shift for me. It changed the whole trajectory of my life. And it changed my idea really of what I knew was possible.
What would you advise people today with young kids? How do you share with them what you're doing in terms of social media boundaries for your kids?
I'm not big on giving other people advice. I feel like every family needs to make the right decisions for them. We have tried, and I also think it's a fast-moving landscape, right? Like, I could say right now that I'm going to make a decision about my son is 7. I could say he's not going to do this until this age, but who knows what the world will look like in 5 years. That's right.
My grandkids, I see now the age for them was 11 before they could get their phone. Mm-hmm. Before that, I would have thought it would be 18. But
right, that's right.
But there's a
things
safety
change
issue
and
now,
evolve.
too.
That's right. We try to be very thoughtful about not giving access to things, to technologies, to our kids before we think they're ready. But also that with that access, really talking a lot about responsibility, talking a lot about what it means to have this privilege, how to use it, that it can be taken away. The dangers, we talk a lot about promise and peril in our home and what that looks like to be a kid who has access to text message threads and what it means to be on group chains and how, you can have guilt by association with when middle schools find out that what things have been texted to other students. So we try to have really open conversations. We talk about things that appear on technology being there forever, even things that you think are private. We talk about how people aren't always honest on technology, that somebody could tell you that they're 12 years old and they might be actually 42, right? Like we try to have those very open conversations so that they are entering the space not only at a time that we think they're ready, but that they're able to be thoughtful and in communication with us and know that we are a safe place to be processing this ever-changing landscape with them.
In your acting career or even in your production career, close for you to be away from home for good periods of time. How have you as a family managed that?
So some of that is I don't do it as much as I used to. You know, sometimes when I'm working abroad, my family comes with me. I just filmed a film last year in Colombia. My kids lived in Bogota and lived in Cartagena and had this incredible international experience, which was wonderful. Some of it is that. And then, you know, I have a series that shoots on Hulu called Unprisoned that I'm really proud of and excited about. We shoot that in Los Angeles. So I've tried to make concessions because I want to be around my family as much as possible. And also involve them in the really extraordinary adventures that I get to go on.
It's a great way to approach it. It gets harder as they get older.
I know, because they don't want to leave their, you know, soccer team and baseball team, and so.
Describing this wonderful experience, and they're saying, but I want to hang with my friends. Sounds exciting to you, not to me. Now it's still exciting to them. You mentioned a ritual. I'm going to heartily applaud the fact that you send your folks a present on your birthday.
Yeah.
I have a very selfish interest at 1-800-Flowers and promoting that idea.
I think it's a great idea. It really is a wonderful way to remember on my birthday where I come from and honoring my parents. Yeah.
One of my favorite people who recently passed, he was our longest tenured employee because we bought his flower shop. So, and then we bought his flower shop. He was 50 years old.
Wow.
And he told, no, he was 52. And he told me, his doctor told him if he worked one more Mother's Day, he wasn't going to make it. He had 5. He came to me because we bought that flower shop. He just retired 3 years ago at 90.
Oh, my goodness.
And passed at 93.
Wow, God bless him.
He used to send his mom flowers on his birthday. I just thought that was such a touching thing to do.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna promote that.
Yeah.
But it's about rituals.
Yes.
And we've been focused at Flowers a lot recently on rituals.
Yeah.
And as a grandfather, I have 3 kids. They don't matter that much, but I have 7 grandkids. And we're very fortunate, that the kids are all nearby, and we get to see our grandkids a lot.
What a
Never enough, but
blessing.
a lot. And but we've been conscious of rituals. So at the beginning of COVID, that first Thanksgiving, we live on Long Island. The weather was mild, thank goodness, but everyone was afraid to come to the house, that they get us sick or something. And so we had Thanksgiving in our backyard. And I tried to create a ritual. Okay, let's make this fun. Let's not say, oh, we can't get together. It's only negative. Let's make it positive. So I created my grandkids, because my oldest, who just turned 15, when she was a little girl, she called me Papa. So stick, so I'm Papa. And so I said, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna create a new ritual.
Okay.
Which is called Papa's Turkey Tacos. Because it's fun to say.
Well, now, was it after the turkey? So it's like the leftover turkey tacos?
Dummy did it the first year on Thanksgiving Day. So I have 3 families, 3 kids.
Yeah.
One family made me a big sign for my taco stand.
Oh.
Another one made a sign, a hat for me, a chef's hat. Another one made me an apron.
Oh.
And so I had Papa's Turkey Tacos, and it's become our new ritual.
I love that.
Rituals are important in your life. And,
yes.
And we've been asking our community at Flowers. I write a newsletter on Sundays that now 10 million readers.
Wow. Wow.
It's fun. I mean, I couldn't get a term paper in time.
But this you can do. Because it's about community, right? It's a different kind of willingness to show up.
And rituals has crept into our dialogue lately.
Yes.
One of our board members of Flowers, her name is Celia Brown. She came to Lisa and I at a recent board meeting and said that she's always wanted to write a book about rituals. And I realized I'm never going to, but why don't you?
Are you going to?
Yeah, we're collecting from our community stories about rituals.
Great.
So I tell the story about the new one I'm trying to create. She told us that in their home, they have a picture. There's a couch there, and they have a picture, she and her husband. Then the next picture was with the baby, then with the next baby, and now with the grandbabies. Oh. And they take the same shot every year.
I love that.
Any other rituals in your household?
Yeah. There's one where my mother makes, there's a traditional, it's called Jamaican black cake. And it's a rum cake that has like it's very rich and moist. And you have to preserve dried fruits in the rum for months, and then you blend it up, and it is extraordinary. So my mom makes this cake every year, and it's so fun to be around when she's making it and help her. The smell of it, the taste of it, it's just incredible. So that's one ritual I thought of. We have another ritual with my kids, which is that on your birthday, you get to, with my husband too, on your birthday with everybody, you get to have whatever you want for dinner. No questions asked. The dinner that day is the dinner you want. So sometimes somebody will request, I want breakfast for dinner, and the whole family eats breakfast for dinner. Or this year, my son wanted cotton candy, and it was just like all sweet things, cotton candy and red velvet cake and a strawberry ice cream for dinner.
There you go.
And one of my other kids said, well, you know, Mom always likes us to have like fruit or vegetables with every meal. And he was like, yeah, strawberry ice cream. So we all had, and I always put other options on the table in case somebody wants to do a little something different. Yes. But we love to kind of give the person the feast they want at their birthday dinner.
That's a good one. It's fun.
Yeah.
And gets people thinking differently about their birthday. Now, can they be maybe a little outlandish?
Yes. And you learn about each other. You know, when I told my mom that was what my son wanted, she thought, oh, I'm going to get him a cotton candy machine for his birthday because he loves it so much. So what a great insight into who they are and what they want and what they love.
Do you go out to restaurants a lot with your kids?
Sometimes. I love to really take my kids also to really different kinds of ethnic food. You know, I took them to their first Ethiopian restaurant recently with my parents. That was a blast, like introducing them to different kinds of food. My family really loves shabu shabu, which is a traditional Japanese meal where they bring you these incredible raw vegetables and meats and noodles, and there are these hot pots at your table, and you make these soups as a family at the table together. So we love to have different kinds of cultural experiences as a family.
I was knocked out recently by, it was Father's Day.
Yeah.
And my wife invited the three kids to come over for Father's Day. And she sent me to the butcher to get some meat and some fish, and I'm out in the barbecue. And we come in, I have a 9-year-old grandson. He sits next to me at the table. I'm at one end, Mary Liz at the other. And we love skirt steak.
Who doesn't?
And he said, Papa, I prefer the filet mignon cut.
How old?
9.
Good for you. Raising them right.
What? He said, I've tried all the cuts now of steak, and I know you and Grandma like this one, but I prefer the filet mignon.
I
said,
love it.
I remember when I first had filet mignon, but I was 30 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
Not 9.
That's right.
But my grandkids have been in more restaurants than I was at into my 40s.
Wow.
Families just go out so much more now.
Yeah.
And I would argue that one of my families, when they say it's dinner time, the kids run and sit by the front door. Rituals are changing.
They're so special. We're a big Disney family as well. So we do a lot of like Disneyland trips with another family that we're very close to. And that's another way that we celebrate each other and our family.
We were chatting last night. Can you imagine? You're a creative force in all different areas, but Walt Disney. You're in
a
a
visionary.
swampland in the middle of Florida.
Such a visionary.
How do people have that gift? How
I
do you have
know.
that
I don't
gift?
know. It's nowhere near his gift, but it's inspiring.
So you're getting on an airplane. You're flying back to the West Coast. How do you spend your quiet time on a plane? What are you thinking about? What do you do? Do you plan what you're going to do on the plane?
Usually I have some homework. I try to spend my time on a plane doing some pleasure and some focused professional work. So I try to cross at least one or two things off the to-do list. Yep. Usually I try to do something I'm really looking forward to reading or watching, and then something that I've been avoiding reading or watching. Yep. I try to get those two things off the list, and then, try to listen to a book that I'm excited about, or watch a movie that I think is going to be great, or sleep.
Well, I'm sure glad you got up early to spend some time with us today. You're a treat to spend time with.
Thank
getting
you.
to know you and Leslie has been a treat for me because relationships matter, and this is an awfully good relationship. I'm so appreciative.
I feel the same way, Jim.
And I'm here to confirm that the rumors about you and Bob Iger having these conversations about maybe replacing him next is the editor Disney Company. I think it's an important rumor, and who knows,
Not
rumors
a
come
rumor.
true because
This man, we talk about creatives. I mean, that is some creative storytelling right there.
I think you could kill it there.
You're so funny. Thank
Kerry
you so
Washington,
much.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
We put our heart into everything we do. We are farmers, bakers, florists, and makers who grow and create with a passion. Made with love at every step of the way. Because at the end of the day, we know you're sending more than a gift. 1-800-Flowers, share with love.
Well, I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and I know I'll be sharing it forward. I hope you get to as well. Let's keep the conversation going. Follow me along on Twitter at Jim 1-800-Flowers and on LinkedIn at Jim McCann. Hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Celebrations Chatter. You can join our community by reaching out at chatter@celebrations.com. And while you're at it, tell us what topics you'd like us to explore here on the Celebrations Chatter podcast. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to share it forward.